and today I'm coming to you with some winter lawn care no-nos. In this video, I'm going to share with you 6 big-time mistakes that lots of people make in their lawns during the winter, or at least they're tempted to. One of the first stumbling blocks that lots of people make in the lawn during the winter is they find themselves bored in the month of January, and it happens to be a somewhat warm day, and they walk the lawn and they find random winter weeds. The mistake is when you go into your garage and you grab a weed killer and go to kill it. If you walk with me up the hill, you'll see tons of green weeds. It would be a mistake to go pull any weed killer out and try to kill those now, mostly because it's just too cold. The vast majority of weeds and weed killing products are designed to work in warmer weather. So although the weed looks like it's growing, and it seems like to be a nice day, chemically speaking, the plant is not going to absorb the weed killer the way it's supposed to, and it's not going to react the way it's supposed to. Now, regular subscribers to this channel probably know that already, but statistically speaking, 90% of my viewers here do not subscribe to this channel. So I'm hoping that that tip plus the next 5 are going to be particularly helpful for you. So once you understand that, then obviously the temptation is to think, well, maybe I got some weeds in the lawn now. Let's go rifle around in the garage, find my spreader if I have one, find some random weed preventer if I have one, and go put it on the lawn now. It's called a Preemergent for those of you that don't know. All right, so there you go. You find your spreader, you dust it off, you find a bag of weed preventer, or maybe you go buy one. There it is, it says preventer. But here's the thing, you have to apply it in the spring to prevent crabgrass and other stuff, and you have to apply it in the fall to prevent poa annua and other things. There's a big reason to do that, because many of these weeds, let's talk about poa here, that is an annual bluegrass and it germinates in the fall. So you have to put the pre-emergent down in the fall so that it won't germinate. You can't prevent that in the winter because it has already germinated. Conversely, you can't put a pre-emergent down in the month of January, let's say, to prevent weeds that germinate in the spring and, you know, flourish in the summer, because the product does not work on seeds that aren't ready to germinate. These products are going to prevent seeds from germinating when the soil temperatures are perfect for those seeds to germinate. Basically, the weather is preventing it from germinating in the middle of the winter. Your product is not. The product will sit on the lawn, and after about maybe 4 weeks or so, it will lose its effectiveness. It will lose its ability to prevent germination of weeds. So once soil temperatures come back up in the spring, the seeds will still germinate and you'll still get weeds. There's no point in putting down a weed pre-emergent in the middle of December. Now that we've talked about why we don't attempt to kill weeds in the winter, nor do we attempt to prevent weeds in the winter, since we're staring at that spreader over there, the next biggest temptation usually is on those warmer winter days when you just want to get a jump start on spring. The temptation is to put some fertilizer in that spreader and throw it on the lawn. See if we can get that lawn going early. This is another big mistake because, for the most part, the grass is still dormant. Unless you're actively mowing your lawn every week or so, your grass is still dormant, which means the root system in the ground doesn't want to absorb nutrients yet. The grass blades on top are not actively growing, so even if you're putting a foliar application down, they don't want to absorb the product and use it. And for the most part, especially in those northern climates, the ground is frozen. So if you put down product, it will just sit there and eventually it will leach off somewhere when the snow melts. The only real product, or let's say macronutrient, that's kind of safe is potassium. But potassium actually has the ability to get absorbed into the root system of plants even during cold weather, but it's not very efficient, and it's hard to find over-the-counter products in the month of January that are just straight up potassium. It's still best just simply to wait until winter is over. For the most part, your grass is not really going to start waking up from the winter until soil temperatures climb up above 45, probably maybe 40 in the cold season grass zones. And honestly, the same time of year really for the southern grasses, because although the temperatures are warmer there, the grass types that grow there don't like 45 degree soil either. They like things closer to 55 to 60. This fourth mistake that lawn owners make during the winter applies mostly to people who live where it snows somewhat regularly and stays very cold pretty regularly. You see back here behind me, it looks like snow, but if you get really close, this is basically just snow that kind of melted. It's kind of ice. It's just sitting on the lawn. It's cold enough that it's just not melting off. Here's the mistake. When we live in climates that are super cold, especially those climates that are damp, if we don't cut the grass short for the winter, these areas that are consistently damp and pressed down by the weight of snow and maybe ice, these areas are prone to fungal infections as spring is starting. Snow mold is the most common fungal infection, but we don't really want it because that is going to slow the progress of our lawn in the early parts of spring. So the reason I bring this up is that if you have not cut your grass short and you happen to have a warm enough day where the grass is not like crispy and frozen and frosty, pull your lawnmower out and cut it back. Maybe bag it, but the point is to get that grass short if you haven't gotten it short already. Now, you don't want to scalp it down to the ground or anything like that, but you don't want excessive growth sitting on top. You don't want the grass blades up like this and then flopping over under the weight of snow, because that's where the fungal infection starts. The fifth mistake that people make when they're dealing with their lawns throughout the winter really has to do with high traffic areas of their lawn and not realizing that the damage that you can do to a lawn when you're walking all over it. Now, to demonstrate that, I'm going to show you a part of my lawn that is always damaged because I walk over it every winter. There's my dogs right there. When they're not in the kennel, I walk them from the kennel to the garage. Now, of course, they do spend some time in the yard as well, but this little area right here, going from my door across the grass to the kennel door, is always a little bit matted down. If you go back, let's say you're a subscriber and you've watched a lot of the videos of the past year or so on this channel, you literally can look at this area in the background of those videos and see that this spot in my yard never looks lush. It doesn't matter how much fertilizer or care I put to that area, it never really grows thick. Simply because through the whole winter, every single year, I'm always trampling this spot. Areas of the yard that you don't trample throughout the winter, especially in the early morning when the frost is on the ground, don't get damaged at the crown level. Now, each grass type is a little bit different in structure, but generally speaking, that crown exists, and as it gets stepped on, it kind of crumples because it's not thawed, it's frozen, it's frosty. I really just go back and forth on the same spot a few times a day, but you can already see the damage, and it lasts throughout the entire year. If you care about any particular part of your yard, try not to put excessive traffic on it throughout the winter, and certainly try not to put excessive traffic on it in the morning when it is still frosty. All right, mistake number 6 has to do with trees. Most of us have them. Most of us like raking. I mean, I say like in air quotes. We love raking up leaves and pine needles. And look at this. I raked for a month straight and there's still stuff here all along the fence line. This is one of the biggest mistakes that almost everyone, like seriously, almost everyone makes this mistake. Once we're done bagging up our last bag of leaves, we just forget about the leaves. The problem is, every tree that I've ever seen always holds on to a handful of leaves well into winter and slowly drops them on the ground. The wind blows them around, they all get stuck here in the fence line. When you let leaves pile up along your fence line, things die. The month of January and the month of February really are probably the best times on whatever random warm dry day that you have to come out, grab your rake, and clean up the rest of the leaves that are still there. The thing is that the grass is not growing yet, but if those leaves are still there come March and April when the grass does start growing, those spots are just going to get snuffed out, mulched down by leaves. Now, of course, bare spots can be repaired, but if we can prevent the problem, then that's the best solution of them all. In January and February is the best time to come out and do one last raking job. Get them off the ground before the grass starts growing. As spring comes, you're going to want to start working on your lawn to make it look its best. I've got a guide already published here on the channel about repairing your lawn for free. It's a zero-cost lawn care guide. I'll have a link to it, very prominent here. I'm also in the production stages of a full spring lawn care guide. Take a look down in the description below for links. There might be some links here on the screen as well. Thank you so much for your time. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.